All right, welcome everybody. Let's get going.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Van Sickle.
All right. Approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes. All right. Looks like we have a presentation tonight.
Absolutely. So every month, we just want to highlight the great things that are going on in our district. We rotate between buildings, and this month I've asked Derek to ask a middle school program or teacher to come, and Billy Glenn is doing some great things with our 6th grade exploratory.
And Mr. Fuller.
And Mr. Fuller, kind of in partnership, an interdisciplinary unit. And we got some of our 6th grade students here to present tonight. So I'm going to hand it off to you guys, and we're looking forward to hearing.
All right.
We can use this out a little bit.
Cheers.
Come on.
In Miss Glenn's exploratory, we learned how to do Google Drawing, Brush Ninja, Remove BG, and Sketch.io to create 2D designs. But in Mr. Fuller's class, we learned how to use Tinkercad to recreate the designs in 3D. We started in 2D and ended in 3D. So mine's a 2D image. It's an Olaf with a happy snow day heart. The thing that I could have done a little better is background. I didn't really have enough time to do that. The thing I was really proud of though is the arms and the hair I had on him. And then the thing that I'm most proud of is the another thing I'm most proud of is at the corner up there where the happy snow day is. And I made that heart out of Google Drawings with a mouse and that kind of stuff. And someone else made that one. Looks pretty good. And then this is my snowman. His name is Little Glacier. And the thing I'm most proud of is all the bling effects and how I positioned it all correctly in the right spot. And the thing that was challenging is putting it all like this right close and the helicopter like on looking like it's on it. And if I had more time, I would probably put stack of money on it. And then the cool thing that I learned was how to use Google Drawing, and that will be me someday. I created this video. One thing I really thought of was background because it took a while to figure out the right sizing and the right technique stuff. The difficulty was trying to get a smile because not many shakes look like a smile. If I had more time, I would add some eyes. Oh, thank you. So I created the 3D image of this. This is the snowman that I replicated from my friend who made the 2D image. Something that I'm really proud of was the arms, because what I did is I took a box, I shaped it into a parallelogram shape, and then had to raise it off with this, and tilt it to the right angle to make it look like the arms kind of fall out. And then I took a random shape and I tilted it another way to make it things. And then nose and Tinkercad we use like shape to design this. So we took a ball and then we were able to like smush it, stretch it to make it look like dimensions. And something I'm probably most proud of was the hair, because I actually just used the bush and made it yellow. I created the 2D model, and the thing that I'm most proud of is the details in the house and the snowman in the background. What was very difficult to do was mostly adding the details to the snowman house. One thing that I learned was that you could use the scribble tool to create lines or shapes, like on the owl I created. I created the 2D like Treasure's 2D snowman, and I created it as a 3D image. One of the things that I'm mostly proud of is importing the house into Tinkercad and the presents because it took a while. One thing that was challenging was probably doing the paint off the bonfire. It does not look like that currently. If you can click just here, this is the family. Something how there's a bonfire here now. And if you zoom in, you can see how. Something I'd add if I had more time is definitely more the hills up for something cool I learned is how to paste images and shapes into This is the snowman I created. I created the 3D image of it, and a classmate of ours created the 2D image of it. One thing I'm most proud of doing was the backdrop, because he couldn't really get the black to go fully down, so I did that for him in the 3D image. One thing that was challenging was trying to find a mouth, but I managed to make it, and so I thought that was a spaghetti-shaped mouth, or macaroni. Something I would add if I had more time was probably draw the sun if I wanted to make those little specks and the circle instead of having it all together. Something cool I learned is that if you have mountains and mash them down, they look like little clouds. Alright, that's all for this. I created this 3D image of snow golem. I just decided to choose a snow golem instead of a snowman because mine's might be a little different. My favorite thing was building or making the snow golem and the girl creating the most difficult thing was the thing what you say, right? The thing, if I had a little bit more time, I would have worked on the background a lot more, put like a lot more things in the background, and so this is what one of my classmates also made for snow globe. So I think it was pretty good. Thank you.
Good job.
Yep.
And on one side, some of their 2D images, And they're 3D images, and so the 4 on one side are from Mr. Fuller's, and they're in the 3D, and then the others are from my room with their 2D.
Thank you so much.
That is so cool.
Thank you.
Sixth graders and the families that are here, I just want to thank you guys. Sixth graders, yes, you're learning creativity, problem solving, introduction to like technology, but I also think more importantly, you guys are learning how to do public speaking and speaking in front of a group of an audience today. So I know when I was in sixth grade and your guys' age, there's no way I would have been able to do the things that you guys were doing. So thank you so much for being here and showcasing all the things that you're learning. And if you want to stay for probably an hour and a half meeting, you're certainly welcome to. If not, you're certainly welcome to take off. I know how busy everybody is.
Thanks.
You guys did an excellent job. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Good work. Good job.
It smells good. It smells so good.
All right, should we keep going?
Yeah.
Principal reports.
Just kind of a list of things thinking through the last month. We wrapped up conferences and we were able to meet with 98% of our students at a conference with families. So just appreciate family support through that and prioritizing that time. And some of them that weren't able to come were due to illness, so we're really working to try and still get those made up. But just appreciate the great conversations between teachers, students, and families. Last week we had our kindergarten parent meeting, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but our students took ownership in that night. So just anywhere from the advertisements to sending out invitations to social media posts to introducing people, they really took the lead on that and did a fantastic job. And it was fun to watch. They had an opportunity the following day to like see what each group ended up doing that, but just kudos to the kindergarten teachers for really being willing to take a risk with that work and then letting kids drive the work around that. So they did a fantastic job. Teachers are excited that they are in their final unit for this year with letters training. That has been a very time-intensive learning process. They were engaged in doing that on some of our time when we had school cancellations, and it has definitely Mr. Carlson walked in today. I always worry when teachers call down and say, can you stop down for a quick phonics conversation? And I'm like, oh boy, they have something that they want to think through. But it's really changed some routines in classrooms, but also has identified some gaps of where we need to change some things with instruction. But I appreciate the teachers' investment in that outside of school and during their time that they're meeting as grade level teams to really engage in their learning. But they are ready to see the end in sight with that last unit this year. Another thing that has been exciting walking through the building that people might not see from the outside or from a family perspective is through some coaching cycles this year, our teachers have really invested in videoing themselves teaching and really reflecting on some of those practices. So I think it has changed some of our peer review process. But when I'm meeting with them, having informal conversations, those conversations have changed too, because they're excited about reflecting on some things that they've learned from themselves or having that reflective conversation with somebody that has challenged them to think or want to be able to process with somebody else. So I just appreciate their reflection and time that they're taking to grow as teachers on their own with their learning specialist and or with a peer this year. A couple of upcoming things. Shelley Cruz is taking several teams on March 27th to Battle of the Books. And the kids have gotten pretty competitive because last year we had a group that won that. And so they are really reading through those books and want to be able to represent our school in a positive manner. Shelley is also collaborating with our school counselor, Ms. Hochstetler, in doing a crocheting club. So they've been giving up their lunch time a couple times a week to teach students a skill that they have, but it's really opened up for them to really build some strong relationships with students and learning about things that they're passionate outside of their typical learning environment in the classroom. Our instructional leadership team is working through planning a family engagement night coming up in April to get our families back in the building for some fun together. Miss Britton is planning a reading week to just get students excited about reading around the building. Our 5th grade leadership team has taken over safety in the building, and they are starting a safety patrol group, so doing some training and ordering them tools, but they are ready. They found places where our building could be safer, either during the day or before the school day, and they want to kind of step up and do some leadership with that. And then we have a mileage club starting. We're partnering with Mary Greeley the end of March to do a mileage club for at recess and before school to track some mileage of kids either walking or running. So just some new things coming to the building that should be exciting. And then tomorrow we have Miss Levicki's done and Mrs. Duncan in 2nd grade have partnered for some cross-curricular learning. So they did some, you even brought props, this is good.
I got it.
They had a book that was read to our 2nd grade students. And then they did some creations of creating their own monster. And they did a writing assignment with that. Miss Levicki's class has then taken their drawings and created a sewing project with it.
They're learning their hand sewing techniques, so they're using it on the monsters to bring them to life.
And then tomorrow they are bringing those over to our 2nd grade students and kind of bringing that project to a close. But I know both 7th grade students and 2nd grade students are super excited about that work that they've done together. So they're pretty excited about that. And then outside of our building, but just thinking through from a systems lens, the state has opened up what's called a family portal for students that are served with an IEP. And so that information was set out to families about a week and a half ago, and they have an opportunity to log in that they now can see live progress monitoring at any time and log into information. So it's new. And there's some kinks to work out, but if you hear that from different families, they'll be able to see progress monitoring data and or that IEP being created in lifetime. So some exciting things changing from that.
So will that take some of the workload off of y'all? Or
It-
not really?
It doesn't really change anything from a school standpoint. We're fortunate that our special education department has done a really great job even before the portal of communicating progress monitoring data with family and have built a strong partnership that maybe hasn't been a need for our school district, but I think it's nice for a family to be able to start there if they want to check something before connecting with a teacher.
Yeah. The kindergarten night was great. So yes, good job.
I didn't really have to do anything.
Yeah,
It kind of
it was
took, yeah, they did great.
And like having kindergarten friends, like kindergarten parent friends, their kids had a blast doing that. So it was good job.
I'll start in the same place that Amy did with conferences. We were not at 98% at the middle school, high school. But I think our goal is to get there. After going through 2 rounds of conferences and the format that we use, I think there's methods and things that we're going to do, not only to increase parent attendance, but also increase student involvement with it, gives the students a little bit of ownership on that. So we have plans for next year what conferences are going to look like, and they'll probably look drastically different just so that we can provide more opportunities interacting between parents and students and teachers. Spring season is underway, so we've got track, robotics, and speech are all in competition this week. A week and a half ago, we took 8 individuals to district speech in an effort to try to get some kids qualified for state. All 8 of our kids qualified for state, so we're sending 8 kids to state speech this weekend, which is really exciting. Our robotics team, Robot, is pretty incredible. They are monitoring all sorts of, they've got discussion boards and forums that they go on. They're pretty convinced that they have a one-off robot that nobody else is really doing anything like theirs. It's pretty impressive to watch. I had to videotape it, and it's incredible. So I'm curious to see. They're excited to see how they do. And then I think our track team has some real potential this year. So they're competing tonight for the first time in UNI. They go to Ames to an invitational Thursday, Friday. So we're hoping to set some qualifying marks tonight, tomorrow night for girls and boys we'll get some kids over to Ames Thursday and Friday. So excited about the spring season getting going. Last month, I kind of talked about advisory and some of the changes that we made, and that our list of numbers on the failing list has gone down. I was pretty excited about where our numbers were. When we ran numbers at the end of last week, they were half of where they were last month. So we've made, just minor adjustments, but again, it's being intentional about getting our kids in front of the adults that they need to, and carving out that time. Our adults have really bought into making sure that they're pulling the kids that they need to. In the last 2 weeks, we've had both ELA, we've had reading data meetings and math data meetings. Our numbers, I think, with both groups would agree that they're probably not where they wanted to be after our winter benchmark, but we've identified maybe some areas of improvement. So our staff has been really involved with diagnosing where we can improve our tier 1 instruction, our classroom instruction, and then also how we can make sure we're intentional about providing our interventions to those kids that need additional work beyond. The weather's been wild the last couple of weeks, but our staff has rolled with the punches. I've been really proud of their ability to make adjustments. You get a secondary schedule and you have a 2-hour late start one day and then not school, and then you're rolling into school the next day. They've done a really good job, and our kids have handled it really well. Saturday, I got to go to the Bulldog Ball for the first time. I actually planned on going last year, but it was prom weekend for us in Lions, so I didn't make it. But I am so impressed. I was working with Sam and her team on the OAA for the last 6 months or so. They worked really closely with Jessica. They're pretty instrumental in helping get things set up and baked and decorated. So impressed with what they've done. I don't know if you saw the numbers they posted on Facebook. I think they were at 47,700 is what they think they brought in for the Bulldog Ball. They tried some new things this year. They added some games. They added some more different types of raffles. I think they actually had a smaller crowd, but the number was incredible. It was so much fun. Enjoyed Saturday night. We had our first middle school dance since I've been here, and I will tell you, of all the middle school dances are middle school dances, but every middle school dance I've ever been to, I think this is probably the most engaged and fun one that I have been to. Our kids had a ball. If you were at Bulldog Ball, I gave a speech. I talked a little bit about my 6th grade son Patrick's experience. Before the dance, I said, "You dancing?" He said, "Absolutely not. No way." He danced for 2 straight hours at a ball. We got into the truck afterwards. He said, he goes, "Dad, I had the time of my life." And I said, "This place is pretty cool." He goes, "Yeah, but there's one thing we could do to make this place better." I said, "What's that?" He said, "We need 2 middle school dances every year." They had a ball. I mean, it was so much fun. Our 8th grade English classes are getting ready to start their second mock trial. I talked about that in the first semester where I got to sit in as a jury member on their trial. That was more of a scripted one. This one, they are creating their own arguments, and it's boys versus girls, so it's very competitive right now, but they're creating their own arguments, and they have their own prosecution and defense. I get to sit in on that tomorrow. And then our staff is beginning prepping for making sure we're ready to go with ISAS to make sure that we have our training, our organization, we have our system set up so that week is a smooth week.
Any questions, comments? Anybody? Thanks, you guys. Good job. All right, moving on to consent agenda. Were there any questions about that, anybody? Any comments from you?
Pretty straightforward. I would just note the AEA purchasing agreement. Again, that just allows us for competitive state bidding. So it's something that you guys have done in the past. That's really the only major change or thing that might stick out in the consent agenda.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Taylor?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt? Yes. All right, on to action items. Robotics out-of-state travel.
Absolutely. So our robotics team, as you guys heard from Derek and you guys know personally, they have been working extremely hard. And they put in a ton of time, and due to it being the FRC, there's limited teams and ability for competition within the state. And I think this allows them the opportunity. And if you actually look at where the competitions are, they're limited to this area. So it does seem a little bit off when you're saying, "Hey, can we travel to North Dakota?" But the reality is that's one of the closest spots and options. I think that they have a pretty good robot, and they're eager to really go out there and showcase what they're able to do and or make improvements based off of the information that they receive. So they are asking for to attend the North Dakota Regional Competition, which is March 12th through 16th, and I'm just asking for your guys' support for their attendance.
So move we do.
Thank you, Earl.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Taylor?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt? Yes. All right. Let's see, now we've got to open a hearing, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the public hearing is now open regarding the proposed 25-26 school calendar. Are there any comments about that? If there are none, I will close the public hearing. And now I think we can go forward with a motion to approve. Yes.
Make a motion to approve the 25-26 school calendar.
Thanks, Pete.
I'll second.
Thanks, Pete. Taylor?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt? Yes. Okay, and now the audit.
Yeah, Nick Stanley's here. Nick has been doing our audit for quite a few years, and he's here to present the fiscal year 24 findings.
Yep. So you should have copies of the audit that are coming around to you now. So again, my name is Nick Stanley. I'm a CPA with TrustPoint, formerly Schnurr & Company. Same firm, we just rebranded over the summer. So that's really the biggest change, I guess, on our side. But when you do get a copy of that audit report, if you can flip to page number 1 at the bottom there, it's marked Independent Auditor's Report at the very top. And this is our opinion letter. And the important part of this letter is right at the very the opening paragraph. And this just explains that we have audited financial statements of the governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Ogden Community School District as of and for the year ended June 30, 2024. That second paragraph actually gives you our opinion and explains that the accompanying financial statements that I just referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the governmental activities, business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the school district as of June 30, 2024. So just a nice way of saying this is an unmodified opinion. It's a clean opinion on the financial statements. Now as for the report, I'm actually going to get you to skip towards the back. We're going to go to page number 66. And this is your schedule of revenues by source and expenditures by function. It's one of the very few places in the report that actually gives you comparative information year over year. So on that left side page, if you look at the 2024 column, you're going to see total revenues this year, $12,561,698. That is an increase over the prior year of about $456,000. So all categories of your revenue are going to fluctuate throughout the year. There's really 3 areas where this impacted. One being local tax. That was up about $354,000. Tuition was up about $255,000 compared to the prior year. And those increases were offset by a decrease in your federal source by about $107,000. It's not out of the ordinary. We've seen it with a lot of our districts this year. A lot of that COVID funding has ended or will be ending. So you're going to see that really start drawing back down, maybe more towards 2019 and earlier levels. As far as your expenditures go, this year totaled $12,349,973. That also saw an increase of just under $459,000. So very similar to revenue, all categories are going to fluctuate throughout the year. Really, where you can pinpoint the change was that principal amount. This year you see about $1.4 million. That's just continued payment on existing debt, plus an escrow amount for the general obligation bond. Other than that, everything else is almost comparable as far as the expenses go. And then one other thing I want to cover with you is actually on page number 69. It's the schedule of findings and question costs. And there's just a few things on here I would like to go over with you. The first being segregation of duties. This is a repeat comment that we've had. And this just explains that management of the district is responsible for establishing and maintaining internal control. And that a good system of internal control provides for adequate segregation of duties so no one individual handles a transaction from start to end. Obviously with the district this side, we have one person who's kind of in charge of a lot of that. So our recommendation is obviously realizing that it's difficult with limited number of office employees. We just have the district should review its procedures to obtain the maximum internal control given the circumstance by utilizing available staff, elected officials, things like that, to try to do a little bit of job sharing or a little bit of oversight. So we know it is difficult, but I think other than that, controls are relatively good here.
Question on that.
Yeah.
With the board getting the monthly financials
Mhm.
and those numbers are matching, does that not qualify as some internal control that would meet that criteria?
It does, but as far as like when I'm thinking like bank reconciliations, for example, they're prepared, but who's reviewing those? Is it someone independent from the district office? Is someone reviewing the deposits when they go in? I know you're reviewing all the invoices or payments before they go out, and you're reviewing the monthly reports, but we've got someone that's actually depositing and then also completing the bank reconciliation, writing checks, having them signed by someone else, but still completing bank reconciliation.
So one of the pieces
We
we
are
added
working.
for this year was I don't touch cash deposits anymore at all. I send everybody back up to the front office. So as many deposits as can go through the front office to the bank first. To add one more layer of somebody else touching
Sure.
those instead of just me touching every single piece of a deposit and then reconciling the bank statement afterwards.
And then we'll review any updated policies and procedures we do audit next year and see if we can actually remove that concept. I know it's kind of
Sure. Okay, thanks.
on the next page, page 70, procurement policy. The board of directors has established a procurement and purchasing policy that's to be followed by district employees. During the year, we noted an acoustic shell was purchased in the amount of $22,000, which was purchased not following that established policy. And not following those policies could adversely affect the district's ability to prevent or detect and correct misstatements, errors, or misappropriation on a timely basis. So we just explained, make sure that everyone's aware of that policy and that it's followed. Down towards the bottom there, part 3, other findings related to statutory reporting. 2024A, expenditures for the year ended June 30, 2024 exceeded the amended certified budget amount in non-instructional and other expenditures function. So we just explained that districts should amend the budget before expenditures are allowed to exceed the budget. And then finally, the last one.
The freezer went down and we lost our food. I had to expense it.
Last one's on page 71, 2024D. This is a repeat comment from last year, that just transaction between district and district officials. I did get the relationship right this year. And the above transaction does not appear to be in conflict of interest as it was competitive. So we just need to bring it to your attention. So I tried to go a little bit quick, so I know you got a full agenda. Does anybody have any questions on what we covered? And I want to make sure that I also thank Melissa and Josh for all their help here while we were here for the audit. I know we asked a lot of questions in a short amount of time, even follow-up months after we've been here, so really appreciate all the help and follow-up and kind of your patience with us as we work through a lot of this.
Well, we appreciate you and being so thorough. So I think we need a motion to just to acknowledge the receipt of the audit.
So, second.
Taylor?
Yeah.
Thompson?
Yes.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes. Thank you.
If you guys have any questions, then read that, so I assume you're going to read it.
Yeah, run back.
Yep, let Melissa know and she'll get a hold of me.
Thank you
Thanks
for
so
being here,
much.
Nick.
I think Sally used to read them front to back.
All right. Looks like your turn.
Yeah, Melissa's here. She has a presentation for certified budget.
Kind of fun. We'll talk about where we were, and now we're going to talk about where we're headed, budget-wise. So, the role of the board, just a reminder of our role here in budgeting, is to set the property tax rate, notify the public in changes of estimated expenditures for the current fiscal year, and then also notify the public of any estimated expenditures for the next year. That's technically your role, and I'm here to help. So the certified budget, it's going to be a full-page document that goes in the newspaper. It will be posted on our website. It's a document that shows the amount of taxes that are levied for each fund and program, and the aggregate then revenues and expenditures. So it's certified by the board no later than April 30th now for the upcoming fiscal year, but we have to hold a public hearing first. So in that, we're, not 2023. I didn't update my years. Skip ahead. We're just advance those a year. We're just letting them know. It shows them where we actually ended the last year, where we have re-estimated this year to end now that we've been in this year for 7 months, and then where we expect next year's expenditures to be. And then we'll be certifying next month the maximum we're allowed to spend July 1 through June 30th of 25 to 26. So taking a deeper look into those expected revenues and expenditures for next year, the expenses are structured kind of in a upside down pyramid where largest, most broad explanation to most small. So we really look, when we talk about what we're spending our money on and what we're buying, we're really looking at two of those category pieces. The fund, what fund is it going to come from? And then what actually is it, which is considered the object code. So as we look at that, we look at all of these different fund expenditure silos, basically just showing only certain things can be charged to certain funds. You can't cross those. So in the general fund, across the top there, kind of small, we've got our estimated beginning balance for the year, estimated revenues, expenditures, transfers in and outs, and where we're estimating that to end. So I'm not going to read all the numbers, but some key factors going into that is that our UAB in FY24 was 25.2%. So you'll see our fund balance is decreasing, but our unspent balance was above our goals. We have salary increases due to new state minimums for teachers, plus the addition for equity for veteran staff. Health insurance is going to be a key factor as well this year. We are most likely moving away from Wellmark. It'll give us a slight decrease in our premium for an enhanced plan design for our staff members. So it will most likely be a plan that decreases our district cost $57 per person per month, which adds up over time. In the management fund, we have you'll see a pretty large fund balance decrease from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Because of that very high balance, we decreased the revenues from property taxes to spend down that reserve. So we are levying less management property taxes to spend down some of that reserve on our property insurance, our retiree health benefits, unemployment, if we have any of those types of insurances. For HEPL, we are, some of our key factors, we're buying a bus. We've already approved that, so that's $142,000. We have budgeted some additional funds for facility upgrades, more than normal, to allow spending flexibility if we choose to move forward on the parking lot design and implementation. That budgeting that as a facility upgrade now just gives us that flexibility to begin that process and not have to amend our budget if we choose to do it. Our usual expenses that are coming out, computers and software, $350,000. We budget $40,000 for a major bus repair just in case another engine blows. We want to make sure we've got money to repair that. And then $100,000 for furniture and equipment. Those are just our typical budgeted expenses there. In our debt service, the key factors we're looking at here is we're going to pre-levy an additional $360,000 in debt. There is a change in the accounting of that pre-levy escrow. I don't know if you caught when Nick said that $1.4 million that we expensed in principal payments. We hadn't actually recorded that as an expense yet because we're holding it in escrow. But the correct accounting principles is to actually record that as an expense and have it sit in somewhere else on our balance sheet, basically. So because of that, they've moved it to an expense, so we will have a larger expense this year, and we're also going to have to amend our budget. We'll have to amend our budget this year to account for last year's expense and this year's pre-levy expense, and also we'll see a larger expense going into next year. It puts that fund balance back down where it was before we started pre-levying. We've been carrying kind of this $180,000 balance in there. I'm not sure if that's left over from the last GO bond or if that's just our accumulated interest as well that we've earned on that money sitting in the bank. Our sales tax fund, the largest expense there for next year is the large section of the elementary roof. We have a quote for that already. It's going to be around $150,000, and they're going to work on that this summer. Usual expenses that are coming out, $100,000 for just regular building repairs. $533,000 in our sales tax bond payments. That includes both the kitchen remodel and the new gym. And then we do $1,000 in property tax relief that gets transferred into the debt service fund once a year. I group together activity, student enterprises, and nutrition. Activity and student enterprises, it's really just business as usual and with very little changes. What we anticipate coming in is typically what we anticipate going back out for those. The nutrition fund is seeing another fund balance decrease of an estimated $132,000. And Joshua and I talked about that earlier this afternoon. That number I would say is maybe a little inflated just because we're budgeting for some extra wiggle room on our nutrition expenditures. Grocery prices always go up. If your freezer goes down and you have to expense all of your inventory, it just gives us a little wiggle room without having to budget that. I estimate our true fund balance decrease to be closer to $70,000 to $100,000. It's still a lot. We continue to see high costs. We have lower revenue on paid meals than what we had during COVID time when they were fully federally reimbursed. We made more money on our meals. Expenses are high, both groceries, personnel, health insurance. This one more year of a large fund balance decrease is actually good for our fund balance. The DE has limits and restrictions on how much money you are supposed to carry in nutrition, and we far exceed that. It's supposed to be a maximum of 3 months operating expenses in cash. So we are beyond exceeding that right now. This will get us to where we are, and it gives us a year to work with our food service staff and with Cindy to really talk about what the right size is, how can we make that so we're not decreasing. However, so that's how we look at our expenses, right? We're talking about our funds, we're talking about what exactly we're buying things, paying for things, but the state requires that we take all of those, shove them together, and just reorganize them based on that function. What type of expenditure are you going to spend it on? What types of activity? They don't care where it's coming from and what exactly the object is. They just want to know all of those categorized at a higher level. So those expenditures are split into four different categories. There's instruction, which is your teachers, your educational supplies, any activities and sports, your total support services, counselors, nurses, principals, office administrators, board, custodial, maintenance, transportation. Non-instructional programs are nutrition and student enterprises, and then total other. So it would be debt, facility improvements, the little bit of money that's going to continue to flow through directly through the AEA. So I have taken all of those expenditures numbers from each of those funds, and as they are reorganized, you'll see those underneath each one. So we are reporting $6.53 million in instruction, $3.856 support services, so on and so forth down. So that's how they are reorganized, reshuffled, and reported out on the certified budget itself. We are going to have to amend the budget for this year. The PEPL expenditures in the FY25 budget didn't save in the online budget system. Newer system, still getting used to that. I went and looked at, we really didn't have, the only true budget adjustment that we are looking at is in that other expenditures to record the debt service expense. However, we have to go back in and re-record all of our PEPL expenditures that we talked about last year. So those three places will increase due to just PEPL expenses and the addition for the debt service. So tonight, all we're doing is just reviewing the information about the proposed budget, and we are approving it for publication to set the public hearing in April. We'll have that public hearing in April and then adopt the certified budget. Looking forward on how our budget affects our spending authority for the general fund, the graph below shows where we've been, and then in that gray box is really taking our projections outward to where we think this will take us moving forward. And so it really moves us intentionally back down into that 15 to 20% where our goal is, and gives us time to make slight adjustments to make sure after FY30 we aren't dipping below that 15%. So it's a nice gradual decline and not a just critical dates to remember. So the budget will be published in the Ogden Reporter on April 2nd because it has to be published 10 to 20 days prior to the hearing. We have to adopt before April 30th, and we'll do that on the 14th. We do not have a notice of a successful ISL election for ISL Pearl or Pepple. That is applicable. We are approving the budget guarantee later on in the agenda, so we'll get that off to the Department of Management. I'll send that off to John Parker this week yet. And then the budget amendment should be done no later than May 31st. You can still amend your budget after your certified budget hearing. We just like to get both of those done at the same time when we're reviewing all of those numbers. After the certification, just a reminder that we will continue to monitor our district's financial position monthly with financial reports. Our fiscal year closes on June 30th, but we're required to charge back any invoices for the previous year through August. And then in September, we do the certified annual report and special education supplement. This is the final financial numbers for fiscal year 25, and it provides with us also any special education deficits because those increase our spending authority. And then we present the full financial recap of where fiscal 25 actually ended in October. So budget amendment is taking us where we think we're going to end the year, and then in October we'll talk about where we actually ended. So just a couple of summary items. The property tax hearing is happening later this month. The public hearing on that, we're lowering the property tax rate to $13.45. Our unspent balance is still over 20%, but declining. That's good. The two main factors for the decline is a decline in enrollment and low supplemental state aid. They continue to drive the decline in those. But we're still good. We're sitting really good above 20%. That's a very large unspent balance. It provides us flexibility to do things, make changes, increase staff salaries appropriately. So we are sitting financially very well still. Are there any questions?
Great job.
Really good job. Very thorough. Do you have any comments?
Melissa and I have been working the last month just to say, obviously, we got a 5-year projection. We're getting into the 15 to 20, probably where we want to be. The nice thing is that we are projecting 5 years out. So, we'll continually reanalyzing this, and if we need to make shifts or adjust, if things are adjusting accordingly, we'll do so. One of the things that is a huge expense in our general is our insurance. So we actually worked with a broker this year, and we're able to hopefully purchase that at a lower rate, which helps the district. But in return, we're going to be able to give our employees a better benefit as well. So I think that's kind of those win-wins that we're looking for, and we'll continue to do those as we progress through this.
All right. If nobody else has anything, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the certified budget for publication and set the public hearing for April 14th.
Taylor? Thompson?
Yes.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes. All right, moving on with finances. More finances, the debt pre-levy.
Yep, so this is just a resolution that we have to pass saying that we are going to pre-levy that debt and then use that extra funds to call the bonds on May 1st of 2026. So it's just a formal resolution that we are participating in that option to pre-levy.
And with that, just to add, it's 2026 is when we can call them. And because we have been pre-levying for several years now, we are saving our taxpayers interest. And that bond will ultimately be paid off 3-4 years earlier than what it should have. So I think it's a good thing that it is going in that escrow. Next year it will be callable. And in return, we'll see years on that GEO bond being reduced, which is ultimately saving us interest for our patrons.
I'll move that we approve the pre-levy resolution and escrow agent agreement.
Taylor?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes. All right, more money discussion, the budget guarantee.
as Melissa was discussing, and she can go into it a little bit deeper, but we had decline in enrollment this last year. Our certified enrollment was down. And with that, we have a 1% budget guarantee. You need a resolution to make sure that we are documenting that with the appropriate entities. So that's really, I think, what the resolution is.
Yeah, that it puts that burden of making sure we have the 1% increase in our total growth. It puts it on our taxpayers, and so we have accounted for that. That is still accounted for in the decreased property tax rate. We've taken that piece into account, but we do have to, have a resolution that we plan to place that burden on our property taxpayers.
I will make that motion as well.
I'll second.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes. Okay, master contract with OEA. This is a fun one. You have something like that?
Absolutely. So we had 2 meetings with the Ogden Education Association. It was negotiation year. We came to the table, and I think we had productive conversations between both. And we came to a tentative agreement last week. I think the things that I really wanted to point out is with the base, including TSS, it was a 5.26% increase. Some of that we're meeting the state minimums. And then our Schedule B, which is some of those extra additional duties and responsibilities, saw a 6.89% increase on that Schedule B. So overall, it was a great process working with the Ogden Education Association. I appreciate 2 board members sitting on there, and we will be approving or asking you guys to approve a 2-year contract, assuming it gets ratified. I guess I'm not sure where it's at in that process.
The union did vote.
Union did vote, and it's ratified. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, I think from Kelly and I's standpoint, it was Joshua and Melissa did a fantastic job, and the OEA reps did a fantastic job as well of bringing very reasonable offers up front. There was nothing that was crazy on any side, which is always pleasant. And I'm more than happy to make the motion to approve this 2-year contract. I'll second.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I want to highlight that we added in our proposal that ended up in the contract actually came from conversations with the teachers about, it was a paragraph discussing method of payment, and we are going to allow brand new teachers to the profession to choose to have their very first paycheck split over 13 months instead of 12, so that they can get a paycheck in August and not have to wait there until September 20th. So that was, I think, one of the most exciting pieces that we were able to add.
Good stuff. All right. Iowa local government risk pool.
With management dollars, you can purchase risk insurance. This is a good thing. We can honestly buy our natural gas out of management dollars and really save and secure some of that general. I believe it was around $75,000. Kind of going off of my memory here. Yeah, $75,000 for that one-time expense. It's a decrease of 2% for this upcoming school year, and that's really equivalent to almost a full-time teacher that we're saving out of the general by transitioning those natural gas expenditures to management funds. So the Iowa Code gives us that authority and ability to do that, and I'd ask that you guys support that tonight.
Yeah, seems like it's been a good program, so I will move to approve the participation in Iowa Local Government Risk Pool for 75,57201.
Second.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes. Okay, grounds maintenance bids. I'm obviously gonna stay out of this, but do you have anything you want to say, Josh?
Yeah, last week, we opened it up. We received, I think, 3 bids for a 2-year contract for our mowing services. Melissa and Billy opened them up and reviewed them, and based off of those, we make a recommendation to stay with our current contractor, which is Tom Cleveland. Melissa, you actually opened them up. Is there anything else that you would want to add that I've missed?
No, yeah, we had 3 people bid. We had to get creative with the snow day on Thursday because that was supposed to be our bid opening day. So I had 2 with me, and then the final one, Billy collected. We had a little sticky note on the door to call Billy if you had one. We opened them, reviewed them, and 2 of them were obviously very close, very competitive. One was
wild and outlandish. And so Billy also fully supported continuing the contract with Tom Cleveland.
I'll make the motion to approve the contract with Tom Cleveland.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt.
I will abstain.
Good.
All right, girls wrestling cooperative sharing agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. So Peyton Tredan reached out to Reed Smith, our activities director, and said that they had a few girls that were interested in girls wrestling, and just was interested to see if we would be interested in partnering with them in some capacity. I gave Reed the directive of if we can benefit other students, I'm certainly in favor of that, so long as it doesn't negatively impact Ogden. So he actually reached out to the association and made sure that we weren't jumping into another classification, and had some conversations with the coach. There's going to be some formal compensation for some of those things, but we have an agreement, and hoping that you guys will be able to provide that opportunity for a few girls from Peyton Tredan to come over and participate in Ogden wrestling.
It's good to be a good neighbor.
I'll make the motion to approve if there's no other questions or comments. The wrestling cooperative agreement with Page.
I'll second.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
All right, a couple of policies to review here. These looked pretty straightforward to me. Did anybody have any issues with those?
Motion to approve as stated.
I'll second.
Taylor,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Bergstrom,
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes. Okay. Public comments?
No.
Nobody?
Nobody.
Okie dokie. Moving on to the board calendar.
Just a reminder that we have that special meeting on March 24th for the
Okay.
tax rate public hearing. It'll be the only thing on the agenda. Should be.
That's at 5:30.
We discussed moving that up.
I don't think we can. Once we propose it, I'll have to look and see. I believe it's 5:30.
Also, I just want to bring up the April board. If you guys are all good with two of us gone.
As long as we have a quorum, we will be good.
You three will
You three have to be here. You just
You and Matt.
Matt on CB.
Yep.
I believe that's in triple.
It was at, I had it down as 5 o'clock.
I thought 5 o'clock, but let me go. I'm just gonna go pull it up. It's on the
March
website right now.
24th.
We did have the discussion about moving it up, and I just don't remember. I apologize.
I put it in as 6 on mine, but I don't know.
So we have
Yeah,
three different
numbers.
times.
Yes.
Hold on, I'll get there. Oh my goodness.
And that's why
That
calendar
is
is always
something.
needed. It's all right.
Oh, that's something. It is at 5:30. Okay.
Oh, I'm on the wrong day. How about that? I have it down as 5:30.
Good
March
job.
24th.
Sure you do.
Good deal.
Yes, that's at 5:30.
Okay, so that's the March 24th.
And we also need to move up the decision of who is going to pass out diplomas at graduation.
As long as I'm in the T's of the alphabet.
Well, I think all three of them should be
Sure.
involved.
You don't want it. You want it to be Matt and PT. Okay.
Did you say you did not want to do it? Seth?
Correct.
Okay. I just think you guys should.
Oh, I would miss it.
You served all these years on the board, which is an honor. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
We've twisted
okay.
Pete's arm all the
Twisted
time.
arm.
He's not going.
We'll make sure when we split that up, we'll make sure that we get that.
Yeah, we got a T and a V right at the end. So
We may have to start, kind of do like a first, a second,
half,
a
and
third,
then-
and a fourth.
Sure.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just go every other.
Oh my
Get my
gosh,
steps
that
in.
sounds terrible. Woo! Is that all for the calendar, Melissa?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Joshua, anything from you?
Spring break next week. Just remind that. We'll make sure we communicate that out to families. Tomorrow we'll be kicking off the facility planning meeting with some community members. We've had some internal meetings, and we'll be kicking that off. I'm excited to hear from some of our families. So that will be led by FRK, and that will be starting tomorrow. And then I just wanted to note that I did attend the National Superintendent Conference. It was a good meeting overall. I think I was able to attend 10 to 12 different interest sessions. Some of the big takeaways is really diving into AI and understanding artificial intelligence, not only maybe for education and those aspects, but also for how can we improve some of our efficiencies as a district. And there was a lot of school districts that were really presenting things that they were doing to improve their efficiencies. So just really, I need to dive into that a little bit more, and I'm eager to really learn how that might be able to be a really critical tool in the future. Attended a few on safety processes. We have done a number of things across our district, but there was also some really good nuggets that I took away of things that we can do to bring back to Ogden to just really how are we auditing our safety? Are we doing walkthroughs? Are we doing district debriefs after we do drills? Are there other processes, signage, and those types of things that we can do? So I was excited to hear those, and really that was a gap in some of my thinking, and I was able to gain that. And then just really, how are we creating processes to analyze data that aligns to our district strategic plan? We have the strategic plan. We have a lot of data sets. And how are we really creating processes or really making sure that we're analyzing that data? I know that some of our buildings are doing that and making informed decisions for MTSS processes. How are they intervening with kids? But how are we actually doing that at a district level? And those are some things that I'm not doing to the capability that I need to. So it was good to hear some of those things. So there was a number of other things. I'll talk to our admin team about some of the critical things that I learned. But I did want to bring those three things out to the board. And then the last thing I'll just point out is weather. I've lost hair and I've become gray this year due to the weather. It is what it is. I've tried to communicate to our families, and for the most part, everybody's been very understanding. With that being said, I will bring up a proposal to you guys in April. We have been below the 1,080 hour threshold. So there will be hours or days that we have to make up due to excessive amount of absences. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. We have a little bit more of potential inclement weather, so I didn't want to bring it tonight. But I'm hopeful that we are in session moving forward, and the proposal that I bring to you in April will be our final proposal that we'll be able to do.
Are the seniors good?
Seniors, it is based off of your published calendar. So if there is inclement weather, they do not have to make those up so long as the published calendar exceeds the minimum threshold. So they're lucky. Yeah, they are lucky that they will not be returning. But for everybody else, pre-K through 11th grade, we will be returning after Memorial. It's just a early determination on how many days we would be returning.
Bummer.
Yep.
That's all right. It is what it is. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Meyer? All right. Let's go, shall we?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Taylor?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Bergstrom?
Yes.
Merritt? Yes. Yes, we did audit and budget in an hour.
Yeah, I don't mess around.
Thank you.
There, get one.